Have you ever walked into a room and instantly forgotten why you came in, but remembered the lyrics to a song you haven't heard since school? Or zoned out in a lecture after 10 minutes even though you wanted to stay focused? The truth is, it's not your fault. It's how the brain naturally works. In Brain Rules, molecular biologist John Medina lays out 12 principles for how we learn, remember, and thrive. Today, I'll take you through them, not as dry points, but as stories and habits you can try tonight. Today, we're diving into Brain Rules, 12 principles for surviving and thriving at work, home, and school. Medina has a gift for turning complex science into simple, life-changing insights. Let's start with the rule that flips classrooms and offices upside down. Imagine our ancestors thousands of years ago. They weren't sitting in chairs staring at glowing rectangles all day. They walked for miles across plains, scanning the horizon for food, predators, and shelter. Their brains evolved while their bodies were in motion. John Medina explains that movement isn't just good for muscles, it directly fuels the brain. Exercise increases oxygen and glucose, the brain's energy supply, and boosts something called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. He calls it miracle grow for the brain. It literally helps grow and protect neurons. Think about it. Why do we often get our best ideas while walking, not sitting still? Steve Jobs famously held walking meetings. Aristotle taught philosophy while pacing. Even today, some of the most innovative companies encourage employees to walk and talk instead of being stuck in boardrooms. Lesson for us: before starting deep work, take a brisk 20-minute walk. If you can't, stand up and stretch every 30 minutes. Even small bursts of movement, climbing stairs, pacing during a call, stretching between tasks, keep your brain sharp. The brain we carry today is a survival machine designed for a very different world. It developed while solving problems outdoors, in constantly changing environments alongside other people. Medina reminds us, our biology is tuned for motion, social connection, and real-world challenges. But modern routines, sitting alone at desks, staring at slides for hours, ignore that wiring. No wonder attention and learning suffer. Imagine trying to teach a caveman by locking him in a room and telling him not to move for 6 hours. He'd hate it. Yet that's often how we run schools and offices. A better way? Bring back movement and collaboration. Try walking meetings instead of static ones. Study in short bursts, then discuss with someone else. Even rearranging your environment, whiteboards, sticky notes, a change of scenery, stimulates the exploratory instincts your brain craves. Here's something fascinating. No two brains store information the same way. Your memories, shaped by your experiences, are uniquely wired. Medina says, what you see and hear is not what I see and hear. For example, if two people watch the same movie, their brains activate slightly differently depending on their background, emotions, and even cultural context. That's why explaining concepts in multiple ways matters. So when you're learning, don't rely on just one method. Draw diagrams, speak the idea out loud, teach it to someone else, and write it down. Each approach builds a new pathway. Imagine carving multiple roads to the same destination. If one is blocked, you've got backups. After learning something, try this sequence. Say it in your own words, sketch a quick doodle of it, and explain it to a friend or even an imaginary listener. You'll notice the idea sticks far longer. Here's a truth teachers and speakers often ignore. Our attention span for unbroken information is about 10 minutes. After that, the brain drifts, whether we want it to or not. Medina calls it the 10-minute rule. To reset attention, you need a hook, a story, a question, a surprising fact, even humor. Think back to the best class you ever attended. Chances are the teacher didn't just lecture, they told stories, asked for reactions, used visuals, or suddenly changed pace. When you study, apply this rule to yourself. Don't force a 2-hour straight reading session. It's inefficient. Instead, break your learning into 10 to 15-minute chunks. Then reset your brain with a tiny hook. Ask yourself, why does this matter to me right now? Or, how would I explain this to a 10-year-old? Your brain loves relevance and novelty. If something feels personal or surprising, it clings to it. That's why you can recall gossip from years ago, but forget yesterday's lecture slides. Key point: attention is not a switch you flip on. It's a flame you must constantly reignite. Here's the thing about memory. It's slippery. We like to think once we learn something, it's ours forever. But in reality, working memory is fragile, like writing in sand near the ocean. Without reinforcement, the waves wash it away. Medina explains that repetition is what carves knowledge into long-term memory, but not just mindless repetition. The key is spaced repetition and meaningful retrieval. Think about learning someone's name. If you hear it once, chances are it's gone in 30 seconds. But if you repeat it out loud, "Nice to meet you, Sarah," then later recall it, "Hey, Sarah, how's it going?" You're creating pathways. Each recall strengthens the road. This is why flashcards work, why teachers give quizzes, and why explaining something to a friend cements your own understanding. The act of pulling knowledge out of your brain, retrieval practice, is far more powerful than just rereading notes. Lesson: don't just passively review. Instead, quiz yourself. Teach what you learned to someone else. Space reviews, day 1, day 3, day 7, and so on. Each time you're telling your brain, this matters, keep it. Here's a hard truth. Pulling all-nighters doesn't prove you're hardworking. It proves you're forgetting. Medina points out that sleep is not optional downtime. It's prime brain time. During sleep, especially deep stages and REM, the brain consolidates memories. It decides what to keep and what to discard. Without enough sleep, it's like saving files on a computer, but never clicking save. Ever noticed how problems feel clearer after a good night's rest? That's because your brain literally reorganizes and resets while you sleep. And about that afternoon slump, Medina calls it the nap zone. It's a biological dip in alertness around 2-3 p.m. Many cultures naturally embrace siestas for this reason. Even a short 20-minute nap can refresh focus, creativity, and mood. Prioritize 7-8 hours of consistent sleep. If you're dragging in the afternoon, try a quick nap or at least a break away from screens. Your brain isn't lazy, it's maintaining itself like a mechanic tuning an engine. Stress is a double-edged sword. In small bursts, it sharpens us, like an exam deadline that makes us focus. That's short-term cortisol, and it can actually boost performance. But chronic stress, that's different. When cortisol drips constantly, it damages the hippocampus, the part of your brain that manages memory and learning. Think of it like acid slowly corroding wiring. That's why people under ongoing stress, whether financial, emotional, or workplace pressure, struggle with focus, recall, and decision-making. Medina emphasizes, the brain learns best in safe, predictable, and supportive environments. This isn't just feel-good talk. Studies show students perform better when classrooms feel emotionally safe. Employees solve problems more effectively in workplaces where they aren't paralyzed by fear of failure. Key point: if you want your brain to thrive, manage stress, that might mean exercise, mindfulness, journaling, or simply having a friend you can talk to. A calm brain is a learning brain. We don't just learn with words, we learn with experience. The more senses you engage, the stronger the memory. For example, think of baking bread. You don't just remember the recipe, you recall the smell of yeast, the warmth of the oven, the texture of dough, the taste of butter melting on a slice. That sensory layering is what makes the memory vivid and unforgettable. But above all senses, vision dominates. Medina calls it the pictorial superiority effect. If you read a fact, you might remember 10%. Add a picture, and recall can jump to 65%. That's why slides with endless bullet points fail us. But a simple diagram or even a doodle can make an idea stick. Teachers, marketers, storytellers, anyone who communicates benefits from pairing words with images. When studying, sketch what you're learning. Even stick figures work. Pair vocabulary with pictures. Use mind maps instead of plain lists. Remember, your brain is not a filing cabinet of words. It's a movie studio. The more scenes you create, the longer the memory stays. Here's a topic often misunderstood: the difference between male and female brains. Medina explains it with balance and nuance. Yes, research shows average differences in how stress, memory, and emotions are processed. For example, under stress, men often activate brain areas tied to problem solving, while women tend to activate regions linked to emotional detail. But here's the catch: the overlap is massive. It's not like two different species of brains. Think of it as two circles on a Venn diagram with a huge middle. Most men and most women fall right into that shared zone. The danger comes when we reduce this science into stereotypes, like men are logical or women are emotional. That's lazy thinking and doesn't match the evidence. Instead, Medina encourages us to design learning and work environments that allow for variety. Because every brain is unique. Some women excel under high stress. Some men process with incredible empathy, and vice versa. The real takeaway isn't about division, it's about flexibility. Whether in classrooms, workplaces, or homes, the goal is to create spaces where different processing styles are respected and supported. Practical tip: when collaborating or teaching, avoid one-size-fits-all methods. Some people might prefer visual aids, others thrive in discussion, others in quiet reflection. Flexibility beats stereotypes every time. One of Medina's most beautiful insights is this: we are born explorers. Look at any toddler. They don't wait for instructions. They poke, test, grab, drop, laugh, repeat. Every action is an experiment. What happens if I push this? What if I say that? What if I taste this? This cycle, test, adjust, repeat, is how humans learn best. And here's the thing: adults aren't any different. We may trade toys for tools and playgrounds for offices, but curiosity is still our deepest engine of learning. That's why we get excited when we solve puzzles, build projects, or figure out how something works. Sadly, many traditional classrooms and workplaces stifle this natural exploration. We're told to sit still, follow instructions, and not make mistakes. But Medina argues the opposite. Move before learning, walk 20 minutes. Use the 10-minute rule. Add hooks when studying. Triple encode, draw, say, and write ideas. Space your reviews. Day 1, 3, 7, 14. Respect sleep and nap zones. Name stress, I'm anxious. It lowers intensity. Visualize concepts. One picture beats a paragraph. Stay curious. Turn work into experiments. Next time you forget or lose focus, remember, it's not weakness, it's biology. Your brain just needs the right environment. Movement, stories, pictures, sleep, curiosity. Brain rules is a reminder that you don't need to fight your brain. You need to work with it. If even 2 of these habits become part of your week, life feels lighter, sharper, more in flow. And that's not magic, it's science. Which rule will you try first? The 10-minute hook? Spaced repetition? Pre-study walks? Tell me in the comments. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe for more practical book deep dives. Let's build smarter habits together.